tell me when. You ready?
Call the shots? Okay, let's go. Action.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with my good friend Gabe.
Get her.
Jay Buxbaum here. This is our annual swirl for Pesach, and we usually do 4 cups, but we're not going to do 4 cups. We're going to do 4 wines. Not necessarily, though, the 4 cups that I would choose, but let's get right started, and we'll talk about a little bit about the wines I might choose. Some of them might be these, but some of them might not. What's first up, Gabe?
Okay, so we have 3 Italian wines and one from California, the Herzog Variations Belief. And let's start with the Herzog, actually.
I have to tell you about the Herzog Belief. We will be using Berliner. We will be using this wine for one of the Arba Kosas.
Okay.
You know why?
No.
Probably number 2, and that's because my daughter-in-law is allergic to sulfites.
Okay.
And this wine she loves because it doesn't have any added sulfites, and it's really a good bottle of wine. It also comes from vineyards that are quite old. So let's try it out. Wow, and look at the color on this.
Oh, yeah.
Also, she likes the fact that it's made by a woman winemaker, too. That doesn't hurt. Alicia.
Yeah, very nice Cabernet Sauvignon from the Paso Robles area of California. Jay, you mentioned that your daughter is sensitive to sulfites. But I very often get people tell me, oh, because of the sulfites, I get a headache, or I can't drink on Purim, I can't drink on Pesach or the seder, I get a headache. It's probably because of the sulfites. So I think there's a lot of people who, when they drink 4 cups of wine at the seder, or they drink a lot of wine at the Purim Seuda, they don't drink enough water. Wine dehydrates you. Alcohol dehydrates you, not just wine. And it's very important always, whether you're drinking wine or not, it's very important to drink a lot of water, to stay hydrated, and to eat.
Also, the fact is that when you start the Seder, in fact, for the first 2 cups, you haven't eaten anything since 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Sometimes since 11 o'clock in the morning, because you finished your chametz stuff, even outside the room, whatever. Right. And then you're just like starving until you get. I know that I like devour the potatoes at Karpas, so because I'm so hungry. So if you're exactly what you said, if you're on an empty stomach and you're dehydrated and you're drinking that first cup, a full cup, which a lot of people have a tradition that they really must do, you really can be affected. You can get the headache. You can
Correct.
get,
Correct. So my advice to people, before you jump to conclusions that you're allergic to sulfites, maybe you're not, try just drinking a lot of water, at least a full cup of water per glass of wine that you're having, and try also to eat, in good amounts at the meal. Don't be on an empty stomach the whole time. If you come with an empty stomach, and of course stay hydrated, and then see if you actually do get a headache or.
So this is our first wine. So I'm going to make the first bracha borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
So Gabe, what I love about this is this juicy fruit, but acidity too. Juicy acidity, not heavy tannins. I get some tannins on my gums, so it's a fruity. I kind of say medium-bodied wine.
Yeah, maybe medium plus.
Yeah, maybe a little bit medium plus, so it's got richness, but it's not heavy. I think it's great. I think it would be great for the meal too,
Excellent.
Right? Going to the second coast, using the second coast and then just continuing with this.
I think the fruit in this wine really shines.
It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah. And what does it retail for approximately?
Under $30.
Under $30. Wow, that's great. Okay, what's next up?
Okay, so now we're gonna have 3 Italian wines, from 3 different wineries. So we'll start all the way from the right here, from the Cantina Giuliano, Merlot in Campania.
So this is an IGT?
That's an IGT, yeah.
So you want to explain to everybody what an IGT means a little bit?
So it's, every appellation, Italy and France, etc., has its rules, regulations, depending, where the grapes were grown. So that means indicazione geografica tipica, so geographical typical geographical indication, literally translated. Basically means protected appellation.
But I think it also means that it allows wineries to make wine out of varieties that heretofore, before the IGT designation, they couldn't make Merlot and they can only make from Sangiovese or from whatever the designated wine of that region was. Now they can play around, and
it says Toscana Rosso, which means that this is a wine that is certified as the grapes grew in Tuscany. Merlot grown in the Tuscany region.
What I also,
Italy.
A lot of people don't realize this, but of course, the most important thing is what's in the bottle. And this has got it in the bottle. We'll taste it in a minute. I'll taste it in a minute. But the stories behind these wineries are fabulous and so interesting. The story about the owners of Cantina Giuliani is great. I mean, the guy started the winery. Listen to this. The guy started the winery because he loved wine and he wanted to learn Torah all the time. And he knew, or he thought he knew, that, wine takes, during the harvest and then a few months afterwards, and then you leave it there for 6 months, and then you come back and bottle it 6 months later. So I could learn during all that time. Well, to his surprise, eventually he realized that it's kind of an all year round. It's not totally, crazy all year round, but it's kind of an all year round thing. But just the idea that he started making wine because he wanted to spend more time studying Torah, which is just a fascinating story in and of itself. However, having said that, fascinating stories are great. Is it in the bottle? You tell me.
Yes. So you have a beautiful nose, very earthy, smoky, a little bit of bread in there, but it's so.
I get perfume.
Yeah.
Also, I get a lot of perfume.
Like dried violets.
Right. Like dried flowers.
Like potpourri.
Potpourri, right. And you know what? It's not a heavy-looking wine.
No.
So I imagine, I didn't taste it yet, but I imagine it might be lighter in the mouth, which might be a good wine to start with the first cup, where you want to start with a lighter wine. I'm probably going to start, Matti California Herzog talks about this all the time. I'm thinking about starting with a sparkling rosé, the Champenois rosé from Herzog, Method Champenois rosé from Herzog, which is Pinot Noir, or maybe just a Pinot Noir. So we'll see, but let's see if this is.
I get some red cherries, like very ripe red cherries. Some of those Italian varieties. I'm not as big of an expert of those Italian varieties of cherries, Morellino, Marraschino, but it's definitely some of those.
But I think I'm right about this. It's much lighter in the mouth, even than the variations belief, and I think and there's virtually no chalky tannins on the gums. So maybe this would be a good wine to start with.
Right.
Also, what's the alcohol on this?
So this is a 14.5% alcohol.
Really?
You don't feel it.
You don't feel it at all.
So well balanced.
Yeah, I felt more alcohol in the wine that was 1 less percent, which, by the way, 1 less percent on 13.5% is about 15% more alcohol. If you do the math. But so this is really wow, and it's a great story. Hopefully, maybe you could Google it or whatever, but he's got a great story and he's making some great wines. Okay, what's next up?
Okay, so we're staying, in Tuscany throughout. We're gonna go with the Lovatelli right now.
All right.
So Lovatelli,
also
Toscana Rosso,
Toscana Rosso.
Another wine that is, certified from Tuscany, but it's not a Merlot. It's, I believe it's 100% Sangiovese.
See, there's a great example of, and it's not called an ITG, right?
It is an IGT, yeah.
IGT,
also,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
it's also an IGT.
So Toscana Rosso IGT, so certified that
From
the
Tuscany.
grapes are from Tuscany.
But from a totally different grape variety.
Totally different grape
That's
variety.
Merlot, this is
Exactly.
Sangiovese.
Merlot is French variety originally. Sangiovese is an Italian variety.
Different aroma.
Very different aroma.
Very different aroma. I get more earth tones. I get more mushroomy tones. I get more earthiness, if you will.
Yeah, I totally get the mushroom thing, like maybe creme the mushrooms.
But also not, not a heavy wine. This is more medium bodied.
Yeah,
It's a little,
very elegant.
Yeah. You
Very
know what?
elegant.
Really, really.
Yeah, and again, great acidity. That's Italian wines for you. Most Italian wines, great acidity. That's the terroir.
And the alcohol level on this is
14%.
14%. Wow.
There we go.
And again, the balance on these alcohol wines, and that is, maybe a Freudian slip, but that's exactly the point. No, the balance on these wines, in spite of their 14 and 14.5% alcohols, don't taste it. You don't get that pop of alcohol. In fact, you get more fresh fruit, more acidic, structure,
Right.
and a medium and medium light mouthfeel, which again could be a good wine. Maybe this could be a third glass.
Yeah.
Because you're finished the meal, right, by the third glass. So you want something really tasty but not heavy, perhaps, if that's what if that's where you're going. So that was really great.
Yeah.
And Lovatelli is made in Italy.
Yeah. So there's we have, I believe, four Lovatelli wines plus 2 vermouth. And they're made in different
Wait to
regions.
start making drinks with that vermouth. My goodness, finally, a really great, real Italian,
And they're great vermouth.
authentic vermouth.
Delicious vermouth.
And both of them are in, right?
Yeah, both of them are
Both sweet and dry.
Sweet. They're both sweet.
They're both
red
sweet.
and white.
Red and white.
Red and
okay.
white. Both
Sweet
sweet.
vermouth. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
So take your vodka, your basic vodka, and during calamite, put a teaspoon of vermouth in, if that, right, or less, and put it in a shaker. Shake it up really well with a lot of ice.
Olives.
Oh, there you go. Olives, which Tuscanini olives,
Yeah,
right?
we go.
And you can have a really great cocktail for Pesach.
Yeah, for sure.
And for those of you who are going away for Pesach, well, make sure that the place you're going away to has it for you. So there you go. And it's also called Lovatelli, right? The vermouths.
Also called Lovatelli.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right, what's last up?
Last, but certainly not least,
Yeah.
Terra di Seta, which was the first fully kosher winery in Italy before Cantina Giuliano.
In all of Europe,
In all of Europe, correct?
right?
Yes.
He was the first kosher.
Back in 2008.
There you go.
And so this time, this is also from Tuscany, except that it's from Chianti Classico. So in Tuscany, which is in Italy,
Right.
then you have Chianti, and then within Chianti you have Chianti Classico. You get the idea. The Italy, the country. Then you have Tuscany, the region. Then you have Chianti, the region within Tuscany, and then Chianti Classico, the region within Chianti.
And I do this all the time. I talk about terroir as if you have to be looking at a target, right?
Right.
Like a dart target, right? So when you hit the center, you get the biggest points. So for example, in California, all right, this comes from Paso Robles. In California, you can have a wine made in America that simply says American.
Right.
Then you have a wine made in America that says California, smaller space. Then you have a wine in America that comes from the North Coast, smaller space. Then you have a wine from America, and every time you do this ring, you're getting higher points. Why? Because it really speaks to and reflects the terroir. It reflects the taste of the place. I like to think of terroir, I learned this from Alice Louboutin, who used to be in charge of food and wines of France, nice firm lady from Brooklyn, and she explained that terroir simply means the taste of the place. So if you have a more centered specific vineyard, it's the taste of that specific place. So Chianti Classico is the taste of that specific area within the larger Italy, within the larger, etc. You know. And here you go. And this is 100% Sangiovese, right?
It's 95% Sangiovese and 5% Cab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
Lot of
how
Cabernet
much are they allowed to put in of alternate grapes?
I can't remember offhand.
Come on, WSCT3.
No, I can't remember right now offhand exactly how much. I believe it has to be somewhere between 75 to 85%.
I think it's at least 85%
Yeah,
Sangiovese. I think it's 15%.
And there's a few grape varieties like
Wow.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Canaiolo, that can sometimes be blended. Usually, most of the time, the higher end Chianti Classico, Reserva, Gran Selezione, those are usually 100% Sangiovese.
What I find interesting about this, and you really did this in the right order, because I'm talking about in terms of the Italian wines. This is the richest of them.
The
This is the
fullest
fullest bodied of them. It still, though, has that beautiful acidity structure. It still has that liveliness.
Yeah.
And what's the vintage on this?
It's a 2022, brand new, just came out.
Uh-huh.
And even though it's a wine that costs only $20 to $23, something like that, between $20 and $25.
What a QPR.
Amazing, like the complexity and aging potential. I remember a few years ago we had a dinner in Miami with Daniele Della Seta, the owner of Terra di Seta, and we had his very first Chianti Classico, 2008, and the wine was already like 12 years old back then, for a wine that cost under $20 back in those days. And the wine was alive and kicking.
Yeah,
amazing,
it was beautiful.
Delicious.
It was beautiful. Well, there you have it. We have 4 wines here. We started out with the Herzog Variations Belief Cabernet, which does not have added sulfites, and Natalie loves because of that. And then we started with the Italians, Cantina Giuliani, great story, but really delicious wine inside. Went to the Lovatelli, and finally we end up with Terra di Seta, which also has a fascinating story about the history of his wife's family and how he started, and his family and his wife's family.
From a family of ancient Roman Jews, from those families that moved to Italy, directly from Eretz Israel. It's quite the history.
Some say that they were brought there as slaves. By the Romans when they destroyed Jerusalem,
and probably carried with them the menorah and all that stuff.
So this has been a fascinating. I am telling you now, these are not going to be, all of them are certainly not going to be my 4 cups probably, but these are some great choices. Thank you very much, Gabe, for choosing these.
Over Yom Tov.
Oh, and don't forget to buy all this good stuff from
Manischewitz.
from our sister food company. Manischewitz has done an amazing job, not just of rebranding, but of setting the quality level is just phenomenal. The crackers, the matzahs, everything has just stepped up in quality. Thank you again, and see you guys. We're gonna come back pretty shortly with a Shavuos one after Pesach. You'll see it then. Looking forward to seeing you all again, right, Gabe?
Yep, looking forward.
L'chaim.